What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm gonna kind of try to help a little bit, I think, maybe, if that's even possible. Massively difficult subject. The question everybody wants to know about the coyote swaps. I'm gonna do my best right here, right now, to shed some light on everything. So let's go. Alright guys, so just over a year ago, the car was, this car was basically done, finished, if you want to call that. We first started it before Mustang Week last year, but it was starting it as just the tip of the iceberg. It wasn't even close to being ready. Had a long way to go, so it sat through NMRA, it sat through Mustang Week. I did trailer it to Charlotte for Foxtoberfest last year, but it was not ready. It was so not ready. It was a little bit scary to drive, mostly because of the suspension, but also because the car hadn't been tuned, several other things. So long process, extremely long process to get this car where it is, and it's still not 100% where it needs to be, such as swap life, I guess. When an entire car has been changed up, you're gonna have issues. So let's dive into those. All right, boys, so if you saw on my Instagram, at Foxcast Media, I posted just a little quick video of the car, and I had a couple of questions, that I get the most of, that I wanted to answer. And also did that on Facebook too, which I do have some questions from you on those pages that I'm gonna answer here towards the end of the video. But one of the main questions is it worth it? Is it worth going to all the hassle? We'll do it from a labor perspective. And I have to say, yeah, 100%. It's totally worth it. It's no more difficult than wiring up something, a new like a fast system or a Holley EFI. It's no more difficult wiring that up. Maybe a little simpler. I don't know. Pulling an engine out and putting it back in. It's just swap stuff, guys. It's nuts and bolts and some wires and stuff like that. Which I'm not incredibly talented at, and that's why I appreciate Dover doing the heavy lifting as far as the mechanicals and all of that. But if you're any good at working on your own car, then it's not a big deal. All right, so next question: is it worth the money? We talked about the time. Is it worth the money? Yeah, and we're gonna get into more cost stuff, because I know that's what everybody wants to know, is how much is a coyote swap. But let's go back a little bit. My car, when we did the swap, we also did the engine bay. It also went from 4-lug and rear drums to 5-lug, 4-wheel disc brakes. So a lot of things changed along with the swap. So there was added expense in that. But as far as is it worth the money? Let's see. It's NA, bone stock engine, throttle body to oil pan, and makes 436 horsepower to the tires. And in July heat, still not having the car completely figured out, it's running 1130s in the quarter, 730s in the 8th mile. So is it worth it? 100%. Oh, stock drivability, air conditioning, power steering, all of that. And this motor will last, I don't know what a coyote will last, 200,000-300,000 miles, maybe more if you take care of it, without any issues. Yeah, so as far as the cost, I literally paid $2,000 for this engine. So another major question, I narrowed it down to 3 questions that I get most often. If I had to do it all over again, what would I do different? And I would have to say, probably, I don't know that I would have done the air and power steering. And that's an afterthought. I'm not going to take it off now, I don't think. But I got heavy back into drag racing. Like, I got the drag racing bug when this build got done. I also promised you that we'd go out and see how fast it is. And now all I want to do is race a car. I really don't drive the car very much. I mean, I'll drive it to the shop, we'll drive it around at events and stuff like that. But I truthfully, if I'm gonna, if I'm gonna run to the store or I'm gonna, go out to dinner or something, I'm jumping in my truck. So the air and the power steering, I'm still kind of on the fence, but I don't think that I would have gone and done that. Buying an entire new air conditioning system and power steering system added a lot of cost till the overall build, over $2,000. Actually, a little more than that. Because everything was essentially new and you had to buy the brackets and all that. So if I had to do something different, I might have just left those off for cost reasons and keep it lightweight, and I don't need it to go fast down the track. This one is a little bit different. This was when I initially set out to build the car. I had these things in my head that I really wanted. I wanted a 6-speed, a T56, a T56 Magnum, whatever. And due to my budget, I ended up with the Hanlon built 3650, which was less than half the price and just as strong. And I haven't missed it. I haven't missed having a 6-speed whatsoever. The 5-speed is plenty. It's all I need, regardless of what gear's in the car. It's like, I've already drove this car, over 3 hours to the NMR race in Kentucky, and it's fine. The engines don't mind the RPM. The transmission is super strong. It shifts like butter. I don't miss the 6th gear, and at this point now, I wouldn't go back and if I had the money, go ahead and do that too. The other thing is doing like the Cobra brakes. Mine has the brakes off of an '04 GT, and they're plenty. They're plenty for this car. Along with the hydro boosted pedal feel, it's phenomenal. Stopping power is more than you need in a 3,000-pound car, and the added weight of the Cobra brakes, and it just wasn't worth it to me. I actually did buy some from my buddy that took them off of his Terminator. I had some Cobra brakes, and I'm not going to put them on just because I don't need them, and don't want the added weight, especially trying to go fast down the track. The most asked question I get is how much does it cost? And again, I can't give you an answer on that, because that's like asking how much does it cost to build a house, and there's too many variables at work. Can you do this on a budget? Yeah, you could. If you bought everything used and you went bare bones, you could probably have all the parts for under $10,000. Maybe even less than that. Again, buy the parts used and go manual brakes, manual steering, all that. You could have the car running, and driving for less than, $10,000. You could also spend upwards to $60,000, $70,000, buying a $20,000 illuminator and brand new T56 Magnum and on and on and on. Air conditioning, power steering, all of that. There's way too many variables. On parts, my personal, this car behind you, I ended up in the neighborhood of $14,000 in parts. I sat down and tried to add them all up, which is difficult to do. Some stuff came used, some stuff came from friends, used, and then of course, some stuff came from parts stores, some stuff you got to buy retail. So it was difficult to lock that in. But if you were to sit down and order everything brand new, that's about what I've got in mind parts. So let's talk about labor. You're going to be between 100 and 150 hours in labor. Now that depends on how deep you go with the car. If you do have air, if you have power steering, are you converting to disc brakes and 5-lug at that point? Are you doing the engine bay? So, figure 100 to 150 hours. Most shops are going to charge between 50 to, I've seen as high as $150 in labor to do work like that. So, just plan, if you're going to take it to a shop and drop it off, just plan on you're going to spend between $4,000 and $7,000 in labor. All right, boys, so as promised, I'm going to answer a few of your questions. This is from my Instagram account. We'll do Instagram first. Let's see here. T3CK_life. Was it everything you expected? What was the final cost? It's actually more than I expected. This is the most fun Fox body I've ever had. I've had boosted cars, heads cam, strokers, all that. This is by far the most fun car I've ever had. There's zero issues. It's fast as hell, and I can get stuck in traffic in the heat with the air blasting, and the car is fine. So it has exceeded every expectation. Final cost, as I said earlier, roughly $14,000 in parts. And some of those parts are not completely related to the swap, like the 5 lug and stuff like that, or the air conditioning that you don't necessarily have to have. And like I said, with labor, depends on your area, you're going to be to $7,000 in labor. So that's what you can expect in cost. My good friend, Gearhead 704. If you were doing the swap yourself, do you think it would be more cost effective than replacing your Fox with another push rod heads cam intake? Yes, if cut all the labor out of it. Now again, guys, if you're doing heads cam intake, like if you're watching the white GT here on the channel, just the parts alone that he had from Summit Racing, that bill was right at $4,000, and he still needs quite a few more odds and ends, and that's just heads cam intake. That's it. So yeah, let's see. I lost my train of thought. Cost effective, yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're going to need all the supporting parts doing heads cam intake. Also, you're going to break your T5. You need injectors. You need a bigger fuel pump. At some point, you're going to need some sort of engine management, because you're not going to want to run that 30-year-old, wiring and PCM, because those are getting older by the day, and that's going to need to be changed out too. So I would say overall, yes. If you're on the fence, I would definitely go with the Coyote. Let's see. West Dillon 1994, does the K member have to change? Yes. I think Sean Hyland did a swap years ago, and they modified the stock K member somehow to make it work. If you want to put a bunch of hours fabricating your stock K member to keep that heavy K member that gives you no access to stuff, by all means. But I would definitely go ahead and recommend that you change the K member, drop some weight. You'll have easy access to everything under the car, and it's just a good upgrade. You're going to do that whether you go Coyote or push rod. Most of the time, most people do at some point change the K member. So yeah. All right, boys. So a couple of questions from the Facebook page at Foxcast Media. Axel Giesler said, "Why the used truck engine over one from a Mustang or a crate? Is it just price? Also, what are the major differences between the 3 engines?" Obviously, the truck engine is cheaper. The Mustang engines are a little more expensive, but as time goes by, prices are going down. So again, that depends on your budget. And yes, the truck engines are cheaper, so that's the reason for the truck engines. The major differences between the 3. This gets a little more sketchy, because there's not a great number of accurate sources for the differences. They made more horsepower every year. I think it went from 412 to 435 for Gen 2 to 460 for Gen 3. So there is horsepower there. The Gen 2s are extremely strong. They're a lot stronger than the Gen 1 engines as far as being able to hold horsepower. So clearly, I would say, if you have it in the budget, go a Mustang engine Gen 2. If I had my choice, the engine I would go with is a Gen 2 Mustang engine. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Jason Permento, a clean Fox, engine, suspension, brakes, transmission, rear end, labor equals almost 50 grand. Yep. So many options and a few grand more, and you get a used GT350. Yes, you could buy a GT350, or you could build a Fox. I'm going to build a Fox because I love these cars, and I think the S550s are pretty much a dime a dozen. I would rather have a Fox, but that's just my personal opinion. Shane Cernick, good buddy of mine. Shout out to Shane Cernick. Curious if you think you have limited yourself by choosing a Coyote motor. What's the horsepower capability of your block? Well, as far as what I'm doing, I'm not looking for 1,500 horsepower. I could supercharge this engine right here, make over 800, be fine. I don't even know that I'll actually do that, but yeah, I mean, if I was really shooting for the moon, then I would just leave these blocks sleeved. Can pretty much handle whatever you throw at them. So, am I somewhat limited? I guess it'll hold more than an 8.2 deck motor, a stock block. So, but as far as what I'm doing with it, it's going to do anything and everything I need it to do. Millard Villers, why didn't you just build the stock 5.0, the right stuff and the right parts, and you can make a 5.0 run damn good without a Coyote? Yes, you can. You definitely can. And I had a very healthy heads cam intake combo in the car before, and I wanted more power. I wanted better drivability, better reliability, and I was looking at doing a 363 and some other stuff, and ended up with the Coyote. I would not go back. Totally happy with it. Let's see, one more question. What are your this is from Joey Barber on Facebook. What are your regrets? Like I said earlier in the video, I probably would have just saved the money and not done air and power steering because I ended up drag racing the car so much. And have I ever had a 9.5 deck motor? Yes, I've had a heads cam intake 351 Windsor in an 89 GT before. And also, guys, Corey here on the channel, his gray car that's now Coyote swapped, it had a Windsor in it. Heads cam intake, carbureted Windsor, and that's what he pulled out to put his Coyote in his car. Do your thing. The main thing is, guys, enjoy your car. Do what you want with it. Make it yours. Have fun. Race it. Cruise it. Take it to shows. Whatever. Do whatever you want to do with your car. Just build it. Have fun. That's what the hobby's all about. If they were all the same, if they all had Coyotes in it, it'd be boring. If they all had small block Fords in it, it'd be boring. So do the different stuff. That's cool. Do an EcoBoost. Do a 2.3 turbo. Do whatever you want to do. Just have fun. Make it your own and enjoy it. And yeah. Don't forget Boost. Boost is good too. That is what is up, guys. Sorry this went so long. I hope this helped out. And thanks everybody for the questions. I appreciate it. Catch you on the next upload.